Hello students, welcome to digital classes. This is N. Ravindra Reddy, School Assistant in Physical Science, working at ZPHS Torur, Mandal Torur of Mahbubabad district. Dear students, today we are going to discuss about the concept of potential energy from the lesson Work and Energy of 9th class Physical Science. So what is potential energy? Did you hear the word potential energy in earlier? Yes. So the energy of a body due to its position or changing its shape is called as potential energy. In this definition, we have two parts. One is the energy of a body due to its position is called as potential energy, or the energy of a body due to the change in its shape is also called as potential energy. So the potential energy of a body is denoted by PE. PE means potential energy, or EP, that is also potential energy. To understand the concept of potential energy in detail, we have to consider some activities which are related to this topic. So first of all, imagine that a brick is lying on the ground. When the brick is lying on the ground at rest position, it has no energy. When it has no energy, it cannot do any work. But when the same brick has raised to certain height from the ground, it possesses some energy. Why it is possess some energy when it is raised to some height from the ground? Yes, whenever you raised the height of the brick, you applied some force to raise the height of the object. So some work has been done in this case. That work stored up in the brick as in the form of potential energy. So here the energy which is possessed by the brick is due to its height or position. So here the brick acquired the energy which is called as potential energy due to its position or its height. So consider another example. Place a metal ball on a glass pane. When the metal ball is placed on the glass pane, it has no energy. Why? Because it is at rest on the glass pane. So that's why it cannot do any work on the glass pane. But the same metal ball is raised to certain height from the ground, it possesses the energy. Why? Because in that case you have to apply some force to raise the height of the metal ball. That means you have done some work. That work is stored up in the stone in the form of energy. Here you have done some work on the object or metal ball against to the gravitational force. So that work is stored up in the metal ball in the form of energy. This energy is called as potential energy or gravitational potential energy. Why? Because the work done by you on the metal ball is against to the gravitational force which is acting on the metal ball. So that's why the work done by you on the metal ball is converted as potential energy and stored in the metal ball. When the same metal ball is fall on the same glass pane, that will be broken. Why? Because when it is on the glass pane at rest, it have no energy, it does not possess any potential energy. But the same ball is lifted to certain height. The work done in this case is stored up in the form of potential energy. Due to that potential energy, it will be break the glass pane. Here also, the brick which is raised to certain height is also do work when it is falling on the ground, such like on glass window panes or anybody's head. So here we can conclude that from these two instances, the energy of a body due to its position or height is called as potential energy. In these two cases, the objects possess the potential energy due to their position or height when they are raised from the ground. So consider the other activity. So from this picture, you have to take one bow which is made up of bamboo stick. Place an arrow as one end of the arrow is supported by the string of bow. After that, you have applied less force to stretch gently the string and release the arrow. What happened? What do you notice? Yes, the arrow fall down on the ground. After that, you have to repeat the same activity by applying the more force on the string to stretch the string of bow. Take the same arrow and place it on the bow as the one end of arrow supported by the string, and apply more force to stretch the string and release the arrow. What do you notice? Yes, the arrow flies with greater speed. So in these two instances, in the first instance we have applied less or negligible force on the bow. So that's why the work done in that case by you is less or negligible. That is unable to bring the change in the shape of the bow. When there is no change in the shape of the bow, it unable to throw the arrow in the forward direction. So that's why the arrow fall down at the same place. But when you apply more force to stretch the string on the bow, there is a considerable change occurs in its shape. So when you applied more force, in that case you done more work to bring the change in the bow shape or shape of the bow. So when you applied more force, that force works as converted into potential energy. That potential energy through the arrow in forward direction with greater speed. So from these two examples, if there is no change in the position of the object, it acquires less or negligible energy. When you apply more force or when you brings considerable change in the shape of an object, it possesses some energy. That energy is called as potential energy. So from this instance, here we applied less force. So work is less and that work is converted as negligible or less potential energy. So that's why the arrow is fall down at the same place. In the second instance, you have applied more force, so more work is done. That work is converted as more potential energy, which is responsible for the throwing of the arrow in forward direction with greater speed. So from this example, we can conclude that the energy of a body due to the change in its shape or configuration is called as potential energy. So from these activities, the energy of a body due to its position or height is also called as potential energy. From this example, the energy of a body due to its change in shape is also called as potential energy. So there are two types of parts are there in the definition of potential energy. In this case, here the string of bow acquired the potential energy due to the change in its shape. Okay, children. Next, the potential energy of a body is given by a formula, that is potential energy is equal to mgh. Here m is nothing but mass of the object. G is acceleration due to gravitation. Why? Because in this case we have done the work against to the gravitational force which is acting on the object. So that's why gravitational acceleration, that means acceleration due to gravitation, is considerable to measure the potential energy. H is the height of the object. Height means we have to raise the height of the object from the ground. So that height is also considerable in the measuring of potential energy possessed by an object. So, such a way we can conclude the definition of potential energy: the energy of a body due to its position or height or changing its shape or configuration is called as potential energy. So, what are the examples of the objects which have the potential energy? Yes, in our day-to-day life, we go across number of examples for the objects which having the potential energy. For example, a stretched rubber band in catapult. So generally, we have a rubber band in the catapult. When you stretch the rubber band, it possesses the kinetic energy to throw the stone. As I said, a compressed spring present in the toy cars or toys of kids. Here also, the compressed spring possesses the potential energy which gives the motion to the toy car. A book on the table before it falls on the ground. So when it is placed on the table, due to its height from the ground, it possesses the potential energy. A river water at the top of the waterfall. So when waterfall is occurring from the top of the hill, at the top it possesses the potential energy. So the raised hammer to strike the nail into the wood or wall. So when we raise the hammer, in that position it possesses the potential energy. The raised axe to cut a log of wood, the Same acts also having the potential energy. As I said, the fan which is switched off and attached to the ceiling also having the potential energy due to the height from the ground. A gas compressed in the cylinder is also possess the potential energy. For example, if a body at rest, it does not possess any kind of energy. For example, a bird which is sitting on the branch of a tree possesses only kinetic energy. But the same bird, whenever it is flying in the sky, it possesses two types of energies. One is kinetic energy due to its motion, and another one is potential energy due to its height from the ground. As the same, a aeroplane, helicopter, or a rocket, whenever they are flying in the sky, they possess both potential and kinetic energies. The sum of the potential and kinetic energy is called as mechanical energy. Okay? So, what is the unit of potential energy? Yes, as the same of energy, the potential energy is also having the same units of energy. So the SI or MKS unit of energy is joule. The CGS unit of potential energy is L. So these are the units of potential energy in SI or MKS and CGS system. So from this class we have discussed about the potential energy and the examples for potential energy in our day-to-day life and the units of potential energy. Thank you.